Yeah, got it. Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. Before we begin, I would like to recognize that the CVRD is on the unceded territories of the Kwotson, Malahat, Subasit, Halalt, Penelakut, Staminas, Layaksam, Palkachin, Dididat, and Pachidat nations, whose people have walked gently here for thousands of years. And with that, we will get underway. Any changes to the agenda today?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, moved by Director Douglas, seconded by Director Segal. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item is adoption of the minutes, and the recommendation before you is that the minutes of the regular board meeting of March 27th, 2024 be adopted.
If there are no errors or omissions, Director Martman? You've been catching them lately, so seeing none, we'll look for a motion to adopt the minutes as presented, moved by Director Martman, seconded by Director Istash. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is no business arising from the minutes.
Thank you. So I believe that takes us to public input period. We're just going to get wound up here. Make sure all the technology is working. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public input period is to offer the public an opportunity to comment on an agenda item before the board considers the item. The public input period procedure policy allows for an allotment of 15 minutes, where the speaker is welcome to comment on any item or items on the agenda up to a maximum of 3 minutes. This excludes items that are or have been the subject of a public hearing. The speaker should comment in a polite, calm, and courteous manner using respectful language, civility, and decorum.
Thank you. So the floor is open for public input. Yeah, please step to the lectern and just press the blue button on the base of the microphone. You'll see the red light on the microphone come on. There you go. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Good afternoon, board members and staff. My name is Chris Ralston. I'm one of the members of the group that's putting together the Climate Solutions Expo down at the Hub on May 25th. And we're partnering with the Cowichan Green community on this initiative. I'll just mention that our exhibitor list has been growing by leaps and bounds the last couple of weeks. We're at almost 20 with a couple more pending, representing a wide variety of areas of the economy. And so I came here because I'm very grateful that I see the recommendation that's been put forward to help out on the costs of we're on a shoestring, so we're not needing much. The point that I wanted to raise was in the original submission that I made to the 5 area directors for the South, I had a request put in for 250 from each, and I think that's gotten translated into 250 period, but I'm not sure about the interpretation of that. Is that how I'm to read that on there?
This is just public input period. It's not a question and answer session,
Oh, I
but if
see.
you leave that with us when the item comes up, it can be addressed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your input. Anyone else for public input before we move on?
Hello, Mr. Chair. I'm Kim Bernard from Shawnigan Lake, and I would like to speak to CR3, item R3, that a meeting be arranged with the Minister of Transportation, CVRD, Chief Administrative Officer, Area Director for Electoral Area B, Shawnigan Lake, and the Electoral Area Services Committee Chair to discuss speed limit parameters and safety concerns in Shawnigan Lake. I can tell you that from a grassroots coffee shop roadside perspective, we see every day in Shawnigan Lake this issue in terms of the village, and I'm not sure that The pedestrian safety aspect of this is captured in this wording in today's agenda, and so I'm hoping to learn more and to understand what it will be addressed, because there was quite a bit of banter on Facebook this last week to discuss it, whether that meant speeding around the lake or speeding commuters, or what types of issues this meant and what could be done about it. And the residents have a ton of ideas, but we understand that the ministry has a limited toolbox to offer us. And so I'm here to just speak to that. It's one of the top concerns in our community, and we are very focused on finding solutions together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public input before we move on? Seeing none, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item on the agenda is delegations. There are none. Report of the chair. There is none. Correspondence, item C1 is correspondence from Mayor Rob Douglas, Municipality of North Cowichan. To the Honorable Rob Fleming, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, regarding a request for reconsideration of the proposed pedestrian overpass in North Cowichan.
Thank you. I'll turn to Director Douglas because I think there's been some evolution of the issue, and that direction may not be needed today. Director Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, with regards to the pedestrian overpass, this is a project that North Cowichan and the City of Duncan have been advocating for about 10 years now. It's part of our corridor management plan that we developed with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. So when we met with the ministry earlier this year and indicated they were prepared to move forward with this, we were quite excited at the time. However, when the ministry went out for public consultation, we did hear from many of our residents who were certainly supportive of having a new crossing at that area for pedestrians and cyclists that would improve safety. But many of our residents in North Cowichan had suggested exploring an at-grade solution rather than the overpass as proposed by the ministry. Our council debated this in one of our recent meetings, sent this letter to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. I subsequently spoke to the staff from the ministry, and they are going to be attending one of our future council meetings over the next month to walk through the different scenarios that they had explored before landing at the pedestrian overpass. And they are prepared to discuss some of their analysis on the pros and cons of an at-grade solution. So while the letter does ask for the CBRD's support for our letter, I don't believe that's necessary at this time because we have caught the ministry's attention and they are going to be meeting with our council shortly.
Thank you. And if it turns out after a meeting that you need the support, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that item? Seeing none, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item C2 is correspondence from Jeff Waitman, Acting Director, Land Use and Geospatial Unit BC, Ministry of Agriculture and Food, regarding a presentation on land use planning for agriculture innovation.
I think invitation, but that's, for those who've read the letter, it's there for information, so that invitation has been extended. If there's no need for discussion, it's just there for information, but any comments before we move on? Go ahead, Director Martman.
Surprise. I guess I would be interested in what staff think about having this presentation. Would it be useful at this time, or is there a timing aspect to having them come and present?
Ms. Miles Wilson.
So we would be looking for a direction whether you would like to extend the invitation. This is a very short presentation, which would be in the form of a delegation. And I believe we've already reached out to them in anticipation that you may be interested, and I don't have the date confirmed, but they have given the time period between April and June where they'd be available to do this. So it is an opportunity to hear from provincial staff and, be able to have a little bit of dialogue with them on their current plans and programs as well.
Ms. Go ahead. You go ahead. It's your turn.
So yeah, I'm in favor of this. Anytime you can bring information in to both the board, but also the broader community, because I think this is something, certainly land use planning for agriculture is a very timely topic. And so I think having their input and their viewpoint understood would be useful.
Thank you. So a question through to Ms. Miles Wilson. Would you anticipate that being for electoral area services or to the board? Board?
Regional in nature,
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, then it wouldn't have to be coming to your councils as well. You'll
Yep.
hear it here, and your colleagues in the municipalities could also watch that if they wanted to online. So I would suggest it could come to committee.
Would you like a motion to that effect?
I would, if you
Okay.
wouldn't
Moved by
mind.
Director Martman that we request that they come and do a presentation. Seconded by Director Wilson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next item, information items, we have none. Then committee commission reports. Item CR1 is a report and recommendation of the Couch and Lake Rec Commission meeting of March 25th, 2024.
Director Morrison?
I would move the recommended resolution, and for information, the policy that we're endorsing is attached as attachment A.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Deck. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item CR2 is a report and recommendations of the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 27th, 2024.
Director McGonigal?
Thank you, Chair Stone. This is a report and recommendation of the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 27th, 2024. R1 is in two parts. One, that the transit shelters and benches located at James Street and the Village Green Mall be removed. And two, that a letter be sent to the Minister of Public Safety, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Minister of Housing, and Minister of Municipal Affairs from the CVRD Board to request assistance with resources and safety concerns related to the use of bus shelters by the unhoused population, and that a letter be forwarded to other local governments requesting their support to raise awareness of the negative collateral effects of the housing and addiction crisis on local government's ability to continue to provide services to the general public, such as bus shelters. And I will move.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Segal. Sorry, it was a dealer's choice there, Director Wilson. I don't think any further discussion is necessary, but I would like to thank staff for making that into a thoughtfully resolution from our discussion at the last meeting. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
That concludes, Chair Stone.
Thank you, Committee Chair McGonigal. Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is item CR3, which is a report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of April 3rd, 2024.
Director Morrison?
Thank you, Chair. For all directors to consider C1 grant aid, this is electoral area E, which was referenced in public input, that from the Area E Couch and Station Satellite Glenora, grant aid in the amount of $250 be provided to the Couch and Green community to support the Couch Valley Climate Solutions Expo at the Hub on May 25th, 2024, and I'd move that, speak to it briefly.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Director Abbott. And back to you, Director Morrison.
Well, just for clarification, I was unaware of the request that went out to the directors from Area A, B, C, D, and E, but it appears that Director Nicholson has responded, so there is the single grant aid here that's before you and on the floor.
Thank you. I have Director Abbott, or did you want to speak? Or are you just seconding it? Okay, Director Segal.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I went back through my emails and found the request, and it actually was a letter directed to Allison, and I was CC'd, so I just misinterpreted the email. So I will reach out to the person who submitted this grant and aid.
Thank you. And Director Abbott, I will say there, it looks like it's May 25th, though, so there is time procedurally to bring it back to the next EASC for consideration by those area directors. Director Abbott.
I ditto what Director Segal, and I'm in the midst of filling in a GIA.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. And to our speaker at public input, just follow up with those individual directors again. It sounds like that they'll remember to bring it up at their next Electoral Area Services Committee meeting. Thank you. Ms. Harrison? Did I call the question on that one? Yeah, okay.
Just point
It's
of
going too fast.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. The second part of the recommendations from the EASC are.
Back to
Yeah.
Director Morrison.
Thank you.
Yeah, these have been published, and I would move that Rs 1, 2, and 3 be moved.
Okay, get a seconder, Director Wilson. I will speak to the public input, or you can, Director Morrison. I watched that discussion, and my understanding was that there's a broad range of speed issues to be discussed, and that the focus was going to be on the Shawnigan Lake area for that engagement, but maybe you can speak to it.
Yeah, and thank you, Chair. This is a meeting be arranged, and I think that as perhaps suggested in the public input period, we know that there are very limited tools in the toolbox for MOTI to use in regards to some of these, and quite often, even though they may have the tool, they may be unwilling to use them. With that full knowledge of what's available, I don't think there was any intent to seek new ideas. We have a pretty good idea of what's available and what we could ask for, and it will be an exploratory discussion and to highlight the fact that there is issues with speeding and safety for members or for the community, and that's more the intent of the meeting. So I'm sure that if the director for the area is contacted, who will be a participant in the meeting, she will take any community suggestions, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what will be discussed.
Thank you. Every time I bring up MOTI and a meeting and speed, it feels like Groundhog Day, but we'll keep trying. Any further discussion on these items? It's been moved and seconded. Just keeping myself on my toes, Ms. Harrison. This is electoral area directors only. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries.
Concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Morrison. Chair Morrison. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item, we skip all the way down to bylaws. And we have bylaws for EA directors only. So item BEA1 is CVRD bylaw number 4545. And the recommendation before you is that CVRD bylaw number 4545, Development Approval Information Bylaw 2024, be granted first, second, and third reading.
Thank you. That's been moved by Director Wilson, seconded by Director Segal. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the second part of that recommendation is that CVRD bylaw number 4545, Development Approval Information Bylaw 2024, be adopted.
Moved by Director Morrison, seconded by Director Segal. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item BEA2 is bylaw number 4569. And the recommendation before you is that CVRD bylaw number 4569, South Cowichan zoning amendment bylaw for 855 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road, 2024, be granted first and second reading.
Moved by Director Segal, seconded by Director Morrison. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have no resolutions, no unfinished business, no notice of motion, no new business, so we move to question period.
Anybody for question period? Seeing none, I guess we don't need to read out the policy. We'll save some energy for our closed session. Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion before you is that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with Community Charter, Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsection 1A, 1G, 1I, 1K, C, I, and M.
See you guys, thank you. Moved by Director McGonigal's bingo, seconded by Director Douglas. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. We are closed.